Noah Baumbach is a unique filmmaker. His movies tackle literally every subject matter, from growing up to getting old.
Arthritis?
Yes, I usually just say it once.
However, is there a more relatable and human story than that of Frances Ha? Starring Greta Gerwig as the titular character, Frances Ha is best described as real life. Every scene is dragged out to incredible lengths, and every emotional beat is followed by a comedic and somewhat obscure moment. You know, like real life. In this film, Baumbach goes back to the basics of filmmaking. There are no fancy camera techniques, no colourful shots of New York City. Instead, Baumbach guides the audience through Frances's life, one ever so depressing and relatable. When developing this project, Baumbach went back and looked at French New Wave cinema. Some of his inspirations in the production of Frances Ha were Jean-Luc Godard and Francis Truffaut. Visually, an audience instantly gathers this, as the movie is shot entirely in black and white. The filmmaker also used the work of Woody Allen, specifically Manhattan, as inspiration for the tone and feel of the characters. In an interview with the Criterion collection, Baumbach remarked,
I think intuitively with the black and white and the music, I had this feeling that we would kind of celebrate the kind of romance and the energy and the spirit of New York City and being young and how good that can feel.
In saying this, Baumbach stripped the film to its very core. Like the films of Woody Allen, Baumbach accurately portrays drama on screen. Take the scene where Frances is told that her best friend wants to move out and live with her boyfriend Patch. Frances states,
I kind of thought that we were going to renew our lease.
Yeah, but we never talked about it.
I could have moved in with Dan.
Not if you broke up.
That's why we broke up.
Really?
No.
While this moment is quite tragic, Baumbach allows the audience to smile and laugh. Mark Twain once wrote, "Humour is tragedy plus time." From this simple moment, it is hard not to deny that statement's connection to Frances Ha. As previously stated, Baumbach allows the camera to remain still and remain rolling, capturing every moment and little quirk. It is because of these issues the main character faces that Baumbach produces a character who is so raw and relatable. As a first-year university student, this is probably the best time to sit down and endure such a film. Gerwig's Frances is extremely similar to every millennial. She drinks, she has fun, she does not really want to settle down on anything. It is in that millennial-styled thinking that Frances connects with the audience. Baumbach does not make the character overly dramatic. In fact, despite the sad and depressing things that happen to the character, most of it's played for laughs. One of the film's best representations of this is evident during a date scene between Frances and Levi. After hitting it off, Frances, being the independent person she is, offers to pay for the meal. As the waitress takes Frances's card, she comes back to tell her that her card has been declined.
The card didn't go through? Do you have another card you want to try?
Oh shit, sorry. This is a debit card?
Only credit cards are cash.
Okay.
Instantly, an audience has a throwback. A moment of reflection to when they had done the exact same thing. That moment when you think you're all grown up, but you haven't really grown at all. Following this moment of harsh reality, Baumbach portrays the scene as a laugh, making Frances rush to various convenience stores in order to find an ATM. Baumbach does not portray reality as soul-crushingly depressing or gloom. He shines light on realism, being unbelievably funny. While telling a coming-of-age tale, Baumbach goes even further than that. Here he examines the deconstruction of a friendship in the past. Frances and her best friend Sophie have been a part of each other's lives for a long time. We see their obscure friendship blossom in the film's opening few minutes. From here, Baumbach sets the scene. One friend is trying to grow up and move on, while the other is desperately holding on to the past. The film's black and white look could also be seen as a visual representation of this past versus future ideology. When Sophie moves in with Patch, Frances goes back to Levi's apartment. There she feels needed. Levi's roommate, Benji, states,
I want something prepared and brought to me.
Wait.
Frances goes and makes everyone omelets. Since Sophie's disappearance from Frances's life, she becomes incredibly pathetic. She wants to be loved in the way Sophie loved her. After one night in their apartment, Frances remarks,
This is the best night I've had since Sophie dumped me.
expecting them to say something flattering. They do not respond. Frances then remarks that she should leave, and she does. Frances's life continues to get worse. Her job as a dancer is put on hold when her boss tells her that she will not be needed until February. In response to this, Frances goes home, the only place she can feel valued and loved. Frances has an act for doubting herself and getting incredibly embarrassed. In a similar manner to when she speaks with Levi and Benji, Frances discusses her idea of a relationship.
I want this one moment. It's what I want in a relationship, which might explain why I'm single now. Haha. It's kind of hard to... It's that thing when you're with someone and you love them and they know it and they love you and you know it, but it's a party and you're both talking to other people and you're laughing and shining and you look across the room and catch each other's eyes, but not because you're possessive or it's precisely sexual, but because that is your person in this life. And it's funny and sad, but only because this life will end, and it's the secret world that exists right there in public, unnoticed, that no one else knows about.
After pouring her heart out, no one responds, and she quickly leaves. Frances is not, at this time, capable of being alone. She needs the love and support of Sophie. In the film's final act, just when the audience thinks life is going great for Frances, Bomback delivers the final blow. After Sophie has an argument with Patch, Sophie reveals her plan to leave Patch and move to Brooklyn with Frances, to live together just like old times. Frances is left with this idea as she drifts to sleep, only to wake up to find Sophie is nowhere in sight, and a note which reveals the truth.
F. I'm sorry I was so drunk last night. But thank you for being nice to me, which I know you were, even though I don't remember it. All I know is you don't have a trash can this morning, so it must have been bad. Ha ha. I love you. I've got to get back to this funeral in New York. Call me when you're awake. My phone works in the States and there aren't any charges or anything. XO, XO, Sophie.
Sophie was never going to leave Patch. She's grown up. Frances will never have the life she once had, as that has passed her. In a desperate attempt to convince Sophie to stay and her old life to return, Frances chases after her, screaming her name.
Sophie!
Bomback creates the image that Frances is literally chasing after her old life, but it is out of reach. The film's final 10 minutes brings Frances's arc full circle. She's realised that in order to move on, in order to grow up, you must let go of some things. You can't have it all. And in saying that, Bomback crafts a picture that is so real and heartbreaking. However old you are, you can relate to Frances Ha and the titular character's struggle. It is through the similarities of comedy and tragedy, as well as Bomback's understanding of coming of age, that he crafts a film that leaves you in a state of hope. Hope to move on, hope to grow up, and hope to change.